everyone, Keiran from Guitar. I'm joined by Steve from Blackstar HT. Steve, how you doing, man? You
I'm
right?
good, yeah,
Today,
good to see you.
Obviously, if I could speak well enough, but I think the that tone set me off just a little bit there, man. That was
sounded killer.
Really, really fun. So, again, joined by Steve today. He's lucky enough to bring some of these really, really cool new Blackstar amps, which I've been very excited to see, and I'm sure you've been very excited to speak about.
Yes.
So, first of all, why don't you just kind of obviously tell me and everybody at home kind of what the HT series is sort of all about, what we're looking at today. Certainly.
Sure. So HT series is one of our oldest product ranges, really. It's always been very, very successful.
Yep.
It's a range of cabs, heads and combos. And they are built for venues. They're kind of perfect for every style of venue, whether it's home studio to live stage, and you can tell that by the name. HT actually stands for high tension, so it's all to do with the high voltage internally pushing the tubes to give a great versatile sound.
Awesome, yeah.
These are the brand new MkIII versions that we're bringing out with a few upgrades, which is really cool. Cosmetically, you can see they look very different.
They certainly do.
There are a few models in the range. I'll run through those for you. So we have a Club 40 and a Club 50 head, which are both 2 channels with 2 voices per channel. Oh. And then we have stage models. So the stage models are a 60 watt 1x12 combo, 60 watt 2x12 combo, and a 100 watt head, which is what we've got here, with respective 2x12 and 4x12 cabinets.
Yeah, we couldn't fit a 4x12 probably between us today, so we went a bit smaller. I was also going to see if I can get some extra points by being like, oh, I know these are for the stage because they're all named after like, things on a stage, but you beat me to it. But yeah, we've had a little go of this morning, and I've absolutely been loving it so far. It's got a lot kind of going for it, but obviously I'll let you explain that as we go through.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess obviously with the 100 here, multiple voices, multiple channels, there's a lot to kind of obviously suit a lot of styles, and I definitely think that's one of the things that obviously the HT series has been really crowned for, is that it's not such a one sort of path amp. It's always been able to accommodate for a lot of different sort of styles, and certainly everybody will hear that from this. So I guess let's just dive right in because there's a lot to cover on this.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, if you want to take it away, man, and just...
Cool. So like I said earlier, this is the 100 model. So it's a 3-channel version. We have a clean channel, which has a volume control, or an input control basically, with a bass and a treble control. So on our MkIII version back in the day, you only had a single tone control. So you had to find the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And a lot of guitar players who use pedals really were looking for a pedal platform that had a lot more EQ control. So we've got bass and treble on there. There is a voicing switch on there as well, which changes the clipping circuit. Cool. So we can get anything from warm, full-bodied American type tones right through to boutique British clipping clean tones, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
OD1 and OD2, they are obviously overdrive channels with different structures of gain, and also they have 2 voices on each of those as well. So at the high end, you got a lot of sting in the tail, very saturated distortion, and in the channel 1 you got a little bit more of a subtle overdrive, classic rock, blues kind of vibe. Yeah. The overdrive channels share their own EQ as well, which comprises of bass, middle, treble, and Blackstar's proprietary ISF control. And then we've got reverb in there as well. There are 2 choices of reverb, which are switchable on the back of the amplifiers. Nice. And also we have our master section with resonance, presence, and master volume. We also have power reduction, which is really super important for the way people play today.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you can run this baby at 100 watts or 10 watts, which is ideal for home, studio, that kind of vibe.
Absolutely, and obviously like with the power control there, once you've gone down to that 10 watts, you can kind of cook the amp a little bit more on those clean channels. And obviously for anybody who wants that really push sound but don't want police, I guess, knocking on their door. So
importantly, it derives from our patented feature called DPR, dynamic power reduction.
Right.
So importantly, when you do reduce it down to 10% of the power, it doesn't lose any of the push, any of the feel under your fingers. It's still that great, saturated, resonant tone.
That's one of those things, certainly for myself, and I'm sure you'll agree as well, that it's like, it's that feel that you kind of want with, you know, with some other, certainly with some obviously amps and loud sort of products, you know, when you do crank it down to that lower level, I do feel like sometimes you do lose that oomph and response that you get. You know, there's nothing quite like turning an amp up all the way and sort of feeling it, whereas like, I guess you kind of miss a little bit of that mojo when you've like turned it down, so it's cool to see that obviously you still get a lot of that with it.
Definitely when you're palm muting and stuff like that, you can really feel it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I guess let's just jump in and hear some examples. We were on, for opening playing there, that was the overdrive.
Overdrive 2.
Overdrive 2 we were on
voice
for that.
2. So a lot of saturation there. But if we jump into the clean channel, we can check out the 2 voices on there. And just to reiterate, voice 1, very full-bodied, almost American sounding, great pedal platform. And voice 2, a little bit more clipping in the preamp stage, great for that boutique clean tone. Absolutely. It takes overdrives and boosts really well.
Yeah, cool. Let's jump right in then to jump on a single coil for this.
Nice. So you'll notice if you dig in on a single coil pickup, maybe try something like a funk lick, you'll notice for the KeiRan, the preamp is pushed quite high, which should just reiterate to you that there's tons of headroom on that voice 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll even put it on the classic 4th position on the Strat here, so. My worst Corey Wong impression in the world there, but.
So now if we change voicing, if you jump to a humbucker, we haven't changed anything with the volume or the EQ. So you put a TS pedal in there or a boost, it's going to sound killer for anybody into that plexi style, on the edge of breakup clean tone.
You put a blindfold on me and asked me what channel that was, I would be convinced that was an overdrive channel every single time, because that's not only giving you the dynamics of obviously like, as you said, a really pushed kind of plexi there, but you know, that just gives you an absolute platform to build upon as well that's not going to go crazy. So and certainly for anybody who wants that as a lead tone, that's a rhythm tone, that's great as well. So
and separate to you using a humbucker there on the guitar, if you go for like a single coil again and give it that sort of Hendrix vibe, it sounds wicked for that.
Yeah, it sounds killer, man. Really, really enjoying that.
Really responsive.
Absolutely.
Onto the first overdrive channel. So we've set the gain fairly low for this. So this would suit more blues, more classic rock styles on voice 1. So if we put the gain around about 10, 11 o'clock, you're kind of where you left off here.
Yeah,
almost.
Definitely. It's the next step up there. And I guess it's important to ask probably at that point, with, obviously, I know these amps come with a foot switch to switch between both overdrive channels there, but is there anything that you can get those different voicings on as well?
So the foot switch that comes supplied is a 2-way. And importantly, back in the day, it used to be channel and reverb.
Yep.
We kind of realized as a company that a lot of guitar players now are stacking reverb. So you might have a nice small room type reverb on the amp, which you can use, but then you might put a really nice, expensive reverb pedal on top to enhance the reverb, right?
Got you.
So these days, with the two-way foot switch, it's channel and voicing switching.
Right.
So if you get the two-way, you can do everything that you need to on the amp. There is an optional 5-way pedal called the FS14,
okay,
which is a 5-way, and that gives you LED control to the voicing that you're on, whether it's green or red, so that you know which is hotter. You also have a 6 dB power amp boost on there. So it's a true line level lift for lead players, and also it has switchable reverb on the 5-way. So it's a great optional extra.
That becomes almost your all-in-one, you know, if you just needed reverb, you didn't have any other board and everything, you could just go out with the amp itself, it would seem. So saving your back in the process as well.
Yeah, you know what? Recently, I did a gig and I tested one of these amps out.
Yeah. And
I use quite a large board, right?
Yeah,
with a lot of stuff on that I kind of rely on.
A man of culture, I see then, yeah.
Which I kind of rely on, but I had a Club 40 Mark III with the 5-way foot switch, and I had clean, slightly crunchy, filthy, with a boost and reverb control. And that 5-way switch did everything I needed it to do in a jam night scenario.
That's
so
awesome.
I got from anywhere from clean to filth with a boost, optional. So it was really great not to have a huge board to pack away at the end of the night.
Oh, it's the sort of duality of guitarists, I always feel, because I love going out with like a big board, and certainly you get all the eyes kind of popping over to have a look at it, but when it comes time to load out and load in as well, it's just, you're almost cursing yourself towards the end of it.
Right, so these switches are new. They're kind of a momentary switch, so it's a really nice aesthetic change to the Mark III as well. Chicken head knobs, you can see the coffin style logo, different Tolex. It's a really lovely looking product, almost boutique in its styling.
I do love the look of it.
What I wanted to try and do is, while you're playing, Keiran, if I increase the gain on channel 1 of the overdrive circuit, or channel 2 should we call it for now, I'll increase the gain and saturation with the voicing, then we'll jump to 2 and I'll do the same there. So you can see from a minimum gain to a maximum gain to suit your playing style.
Absolutely, cool. Yeah, I'll stick on the humbucker for that as well, as soon as we're on that dirt there.
Cool.
Tons of room in that, and just it almost made me like want to change kind of the way I was playing halfway through as well, where it was like that initial distortion, great kind of classic rock, you know, pushing into that sort of heavier side.
Yeah.
But as soon as you kicked in that other voice, it was almost like my teenage metal instincts were kicking in, and I just wanted to start alternate picking. But there's so much depth in that, it's really cool, man.
And we didn't really look at the EQ yet, so I mean, obviously there's a tailored EQ here, but there's a lot of options. It's really a variable EQ.
Yeah.
But the ISF is a huge part of that. So it's a passive circuit which sits with your 3-band EQ, which guitarists are very much used to. Anybody that hasn't tried ISF, a very simple way of explaining it is most voices of amplifiers are voiced due to their component values. So certain brands have a snapshot of EQ, if you like. With ISF, it allows you to infinitely change the bass, the middle, and the treble as you scoop the ISF in and out.
Nice.
So as a visual for your customers, if you imagine that's your EQ, it's not just altering where the mid sits, it's actually altering the frequency response in that position compared to that position.
That's a really cool explanation of that as well, because I've obviously seen the ISF on Blackstar amps throughout basically my entire guitar sort of playing career, or life I guess you could call it, but it's always been a really cool feature to explain, obviously, to new players and stuff as well, because it basically, instead of lumping you into one sort of box of tone, it allows you to kind of be a bit more freeform and, like, you know, really get that sound in your head coming through the amp, which is absolutely superb.
Yeah. So you can dial in a bunch of different snapshots and everything in between to find the sound you're looking for.
Absolutely.
You know, ever since Leo Fender introduced the mid control on amps, most guitar amps have been kind of the same, with the same tone stack, just different component values.
Absolutely.
Blackstar are the first people to really attack that and add that fourth dial to shake up history, so to speak.
Absolutely. Should we see kind of what were the extremes of both?
Yeah,
set,
sure.
Or...
Yeah.
Getting just more flexibility, which is absolutely perfect for any situation.
Absolutely.
Now, there's one more feature, or certainly a key feature,
Yes.
that is within the brand new HT Mark III series, and that is more computer-based, isn't it?
Yeah, so cabrig, which is part of our Architect software. It exists in a lot of products we have currently, so the Department 10 valve pedals, preamp pedals, our amped range, St. James. Cabrig is a huge part of the upgrade on Mark III. So cabrig is a virtual design software program that allows you to really dial in with great accuracy your direct tone. So there's a reactive load built in to the HT Venue Mark III. So you don't need a cabinet to run this tube head at all. So you can use this in a studio format on a shelf, XLR and quarter-inch line out. Quarter-inch line out is TRS if you need it to be.
Nice.
XLR is mono, subbed to mono. But you have a lot of access to many cabinets, many mic positioning, choice, room ambience. So if you're a guitarist that plays on in-ears or silent stage, you can really dial in your tone to be exactly how you want it to be to go direct.
Ideal, because it's worth saying that for all the sounds that you've heard so far, we are going through the 2x12 cab here, but we are going to jump to the cabrig and just see exactly kind of what that can do. So for the next, obviously, portion of the video, you'll be hearing just directly from the amp, and you'll be hearing kind of all what cabrig has got to offer. So let's just jump right into that, I guess.
Cool.
So we have moved to the semi-land of the digital now. Steve, do you want to give me a brief explanation of the 3 screens that are up on here right now?
So the first screen is our 2 cabinets. We've got a choice of a lot of cabs, from anything from 1x12 to 2x12 open back, American, ceramic, or lots of different cabs. What we're trying to do is find a very quick solution to find a sweet spot for a great sound. Often when people get given a lot of impulse responses, it's a snapshot of a moment. If you put 2 impulse responses together, you can sometimes get phase issues. So we've got rid of all that as a problem for people and solve the issues, and you can really get a great sound very quickly. So the 3 windows are our 2 cabs with separate level, mic choice and EQ. We've got a room ambience, so stereo room mic setup. You can have small or large and increase or decrease that. You can solo or mute it just to feel the sound. There's a global master EQ with power amp drive. This second screen is our cabinets. So what you can't do is import your own IRs. However, if you're using the HT Venue Mark III as a interface to record direct to your DAW, you can select DI and use third-party plugins IRs if you want to do it that way as well.
Oh, nice. And that just plugs in USB-C, isn't it?
USB-C. It's 4-channel USB as well, so it'll give you a completely dry signal for reamping if you wish. And the third window is the mic choice. So you've got 6 mics, 2 ribbons, 2 condensers and 2 dynamic mics, and you can choose to have them on or off axis. So it's really a simple way into getting your direct tone. Really great.
Yeah, I've found certainly with some other obviously options of certainly with IRs and cab simulators and whatnot, is when they give you too many options, it could almost be a bit overwhelming. You know, there's certainly any venue I've ever turned up to, 9 times out of 10 it's a 57 front of the cab. Maybe a dynamic if I'm lucky, but the fact that there's, you know, a good choice but not an overwhelming choice with there, you know, it just, certainly for anybody who's maybe not too familiar with this sort of software, or, you know, when it comes to cabs or microphones, it's a great jumping off point, I imagine, for people as well.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid option paralysis.
Yeah, absolutely, which as guitarists we know all about, don't we? So.
Yeah, so there are 3 presets that are stored as stock in HT Venue Mark III. You can adjust them and store your own, of course. You can share them with the online community. You can download others as well from other users, but we'll run through those 3 presets on a high gain tone.
Let's go.
And you'll feel a lot of difference under your fingers.
Absolutely, cool.
A lot of change, right?
So much change. And you were just switching, obviously, the cab sim or the cab switching option on the back there, which
cabrig,
that sounded just immediately was changing like the entire basis of the tone.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just break things down a little bit, we can look at EQ for that particular cabinet. There's quite a lot of control over EQ there. Sure. We've got our mic choice as well, which is the window is already open, so it's currently on a dynamic 421 simulation. Another cool thing to look at is if we increase the room ambience, and if we solo that, you can just hear the room sound only. So you can really tailor how it feels ambient-wise.
Absolutely.
If you're on a theatre gig or a silent stage, basically.
That's cool to see as well, because I don't think, you know, certainly for anybody who maybe, again, doesn't understand what the room is doing for the sound there, to actually hear that and hear what it's bringing in, I think can really help a lot of people understand that as well.
Yeah.
So that's cool to see.
So if we lose all of the reverb from the product, and if we mute the room ambience, it's a very, very dry. If you're on in-ears, that's going to be really super dry. If we bring back in some of the ambient room noise. Separate to the EQ, obviously it's exaggerated there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can really fine-tune that to your needs.
Which is cool, because I think even for metal players, you know, who maybe want, you know, they never use reverb, they never use any sort of, like, they want the tightest tone possible. I think maybe some people underestimate what the power of bringing in just a little bit of room to
just a
tone,
touch,
just a little tiny bit, even, you know, unnoticeable, but again, really cool to see just exactly how that's changing.
And you have kind of access to small damped, medium, so on, and right up to large damped. And then also you have an option for the style of the mic setup, mono, stereo, or completely wide field.
Nice.
So really versatile.
Absolutely. And obviously when you're going DI into this, you know, say it's on a rack, or say it's just, you know, sitting in your house or anything like that, that's you got, without having to switch amps, you can have 2 pretty much, you know, not identical in the sense, but they can definitely be similar amp tones to give you your full range of sounds for a song. So, you know, you don't need to switch to another amp for like your rhythm track. You don't need to switch to another amp for your lead track. It's all just within the one system, which is awesome. Yeah. So again, just another, obviously, just proof how flexible this amp is, and just obviously like how it could really tailor to so many situations, but also I think in this obviously modern landscape of amps is people want a lot more options that, you know, because not everybody can have a 4x12 cab with V30s in it, another one with creambacks in it, and then, you know, a multiple of other. I don't think anybody would have that much space, to be fair. So again, these iterations just really add to it, and you know, I'm incredibly impressed. I'm sure Aaron, who's on the other side of the camera, has been enjoying these tones as well. So
easy to use, available on Mac and PC. And the thing I find a lot by speaking to guitar techs for a lot of big players around the world is consistency is really important.
Oh, it's huge.
For front of house.
Absolutely.
So the fact that you can dial in 3 preset responses going direct, you'll know in position 1 you have a 412 with a ribbon mic off axis with a slightly larger room. Position 2 might be a 1x12 open back with a dynamic mic, etc. The fact that you have that consistency to go front of house is really great to have.
That just brings confidence to the player as well, just knowing that obviously every situation your sound is going to be exactly the same, which will give the user exactly the same experience.
Yeah.
So I think that's exactly what you're touching on in terms of people need that when on the road as well, you know?
Yeah, and let's consider the cost of a reactive load box. You know, they're not cheap.
Nope.
There's some amazing stuff out there. You have one built into HT Venue Mark III.
So you don't even need to worry about getting another piece when you buy your amp as well. But obviously, thanks so much, Steve, for spending some time with us today. One question that we always ask, usually at the end of our videos, is kind of who is the product for, who would get the most use out of it, and seeing as though you're here with us today.
So something like the HT Club 40 Mark III is going to suit any kind of player, from the local musician doing the jam night. A 40-watt tube amp is going to cover all the bases. From small stages to large stages. But you know, something like this head would sit really nice in a studio control room, on a shelf, on the side. You don't need a cabinet to run it. You can connect it to a cab in the live room, for example. But they're going to suit any kind of player as well regarding style. So one of the things at Blackstar is our versatility. So you'll get someone from a black metal band using the same amp as someone in Nashville playing pop country. So the versatility is really there, and you would have known that from the tones today. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've reiterated on it so many times. I feel it's maybe it's a bit of a broken record, but the thing that I've been so impressed with is just the absolute versatility of the amp, and how exactly like you said, you know, if I have a black metal gig at 7, I can still do my Nashville gig at 8, you know, with the same amp, which it's good you don't need to switch it over, but obviously, you know, really impressed with just everything that's happening with it, and thanks so much obviously for popping down today and
that's okay, man.
Really showing me a super cool amp. But I feel I've played enough on this, so I'm going to give Steve the floor, and let us kind of see what he can do with that. But until next time, obviously let us know down in the comments what you think of the brand new Blackstar HT series. Give us a like and subscribe down there as well, and you know, I'll let you take the floor to say goodbye there, man. But until next time, I've been Keiran. This is Steve from Blackstar. Have a great day.
Cheers.